Good afternoon. It's 5 o'clock. It's 5:38. Holy shit! Just got back from work. Why'd you come back from work so late? Because I had so much dishes to wash. I had so many dishes to wash. The boss had Anthony leave at like 1 o'clock, and then when I closed, I had like a mountain of dishes. I ended at like 5 o'clock. Man, it was fucking crazy, man. Yeah, man. It was crazy. It was crazy, yeah. So you guys enjoyed my book yesterday that I showed you so far. So guys, be honest. Everything I showed you so far, you guys impressed? You guys impressed with my book? Yeah, Ivan, I was impressed. Yeah, I was impressed by your book. Yeah, my book's a masterpiece, man. You'll find what I mean when you're reading it. And volume 3 is when you get the big plot twist with the ancestors and everything. And Tactius. Looking at a sick story. The best movie, the best story ever told, motion picture. Best fan novel written. Looking at an amazing story. Yeah, I mean, out of all the stuff you showed me, Young Tactius was the worst. Yeah, Young Tactius is my weakest chapter. Hence why Young Tactius, when you read it, it was interesting. It was pretty interesting, but it was not as interesting as the other stuff I showed you. Young Tactius is my weakest chapter in Volume 1. Hence why what I showed you from the first 6 pages, it was still entertaining enough to keep you hooked. But it wasn't what? But it wasn't as good as the other stuff I showed you, obviously. Like the chapter when Tactius gets thrown in the dungeon and all that stuff. That chapter is very interesting. Yeah. The X's of Saphius with Cassius and Macedonius when they talk. The Tactius, listen to me. Somebody doesn't feel the darkness of the world's presence draws near. I can feel every inch of my bone. Yeah, that's the end of the X's of Saphius, the end of Volume 2. That chapter is interesting too. Whereas the Land and Chaos chapter is arguably my weakest chapter in Volume 2. Yeah, because that's a politics chapter when Queen Sarah. It's a politics chapter when Queen Sarah, pretty much the people of Saphius, they love Tactius so much. They love Tactius so much, obviously, because he's a beloved prince of Xanus, that when he leaves the walls, it's been a couple of days, and they're curious where's Tactius, and you get this riot. And they have to keep the missing prince a secret. And Queen Sarah says Tactius is sleeping in his chambers. He suffered from a fever. And you get the land in chaos. Barak is in chaos, and Xanus is in chaos. It's crazy, yeah. That's arguably my weakest chapter in volume 2, Land in Chaos. I told you my book is a page turner. It's the most entertaining read of your life. It's the most entertaining read of your life, yeah, man. So what I showed you guys so far, be honest, were you guys impressed? Yeah, Ivan, I was impressed. Your book's fucking interesting. There's something about your writing that's very unique, Ivan. It stands out from all these other authors. All these other authors, their writing seems normal. And your writing is very unique. Yeah, the reason why my writing is very unique because I have the gift from the heavens. God gave me a unique gift. He gave me the gift of creativity. I have the creative gift, and I'm able to tell an amazing story. And my characters really jump on the page. And I have the gift to hook. I know how to hook the reader. I have that gift. Obviously, Ivan, seriously, man, how the fuck do you do it? It's a gift that I have, and I can't tell you how I do it, man. It's a God-given gift that I have. Like, seriously, Ivan, like, Land in Chaos is your worst chapter. Even that chapter was interesting. Yeah. Even my weakest chapters are interesting enough to entertain you and keep you hooked. It may not be as entertaining as the other chapters, but they're entertaining enough to keep you reading. Because I'm a genius. So, Ivan, what you show us so far for your book, Like how it's so entertaining is are all your chapters like that? Yes, all my chapters like that are entertaining like that. It's constant entertainment. It's crazy. And so my book is a masterpiece. And I guarantee you guys were shocked when you read my book. You're like, holy shit, man, Ivan's a fucking gifted story. There's something about his story that's so unique. Like, it's so good. I don't even want to read these other books, man. Yeah. Like, I go on Fantasy Reddit. Obviously, and I see sometimes I see the people who post stuff. They post like snippets from other books and all that stuff, and I read it and I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful literature, but the story is a bit boring. It's not that entertaining. Yeah, because I have the heavenly gift. There's something about Ivan's writing that's very entertaining. It's like a commercial story. Yeah, my Xanus is like a commercial entertaining story. It's a masterpiece, man. Yeah, I hope I impressed you guys. If I didn't impress you guys, I'm sorry, but I hope I impressed you guys. I hope you guys like my writing. I hope you like what I showed you so far. And that's a sneak peek of my book. I'm not showing anymore. I won't spoil the story for you. Volume 3 is when you get the big climax of the story. The story becomes deep with Eratat and Tactius, and you have the answers. I don't want to spoil the story for you, Sarah. It's a masterpiece. You're welcome, BJ. Yeah. Yeah. I have the keys to the kingdom. I'm not selling to the gatekeepers, man. This money off my masterpiece, my amazing book is for me, which is not for you. Not touching down my money, man. I'm not going to have you destroy my life. I'd rather Wicca only have you do that, man. Yeah. So I'm saying, huh? I know you trip by and you have anxiety, but God gave you the keys. Obviously, that way you can open your own door and you can start skies with VJ and make your things off your book, man. In case don't dupe you. Yeah. Is there? What do you think the world's reaction was when I read your book? I think you guys were shocked. I guarantee you guys were shocked when you read snippets of my book. Yeah, I thought Ivan was a good storyteller, but I didn't know he was that good, man. There's something about his writing whereby you're just engulfed in the story and you're so entertained. Yeah, my story is a page turner. It's a commercial entertaining story. Like every page you read, you're just hooked, man. It's crazy. You're entertained and you're turning the page. You're entertained and you're turning the page. It's crazy. That's why this money off the book's for me, VJ. It's not for you. 0. That money off the book is for me, VJ. It's not for you, Sarah. You're not touching down my money. That money's for me, VJ. It's not for you, Sarah. It's for me, VJ, man. All the money in the world goes to you, and you're the gatekeeper. And what? And you kept me poor for 40 years. I'm not going to have you take control of my book after what you put me through my life, man. Causing that mess, giving me this mental illness, fucked up in the head. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah. They're gonna be the Ivan, man. Nobody in this world fucks with my money, man. Like, this is my house. Either you bow to me or you suffer cause. Look, man, you're not fucking God. You didn't create this place. I'm not fucking bowing to you, wicked people. I'm not gonna let you take a dime of my money after what you put on my life, man. You're fucking crazy, man. You have choice in your bank. You're not touching my money, man. It's my money. It's not yours. You're just a greedy pig, man. You can't stand the fact that me and VJ controlling our money and being billionaires because you're envious. You're a crazy person. Yeah. The Gates book I show my back because they know my book is so good. Now, Ivan's book is a commercial masterpiece, a highly entertaining story. It's a highly entertaining story, amazing fantasy adventure. And what? And we want to control that. Yeah, they're greedy pigs, man. I'm like, nah, man, you're not controlling my book. I have the keys. I have to sell to you, man. This is my money. It's not yours. You're just a greedy pig, man. God gave me the keys for a reason. That way I don't have to sell to you. I'm not selling to you. This money's mine. It's not yours. Samsara? Yeah. So I hope you guys are impressed with what I showed you so far. So this is my book. I'm not showing you more. I don't want to spoil the story for you. You'll find what I mean when you read it. Looking at a masterpiece. An amazing story that you wrote, man. It's an amazing book. But he's Ivan. I love your book, and I love the character of Lithia. Yeah, she's an amazing character. I love the character of Taki. He's a cocky, confident prince. He gets mature, and he knows his destiny. Looking at an amazing story, man. Yeah. Looking at an amazing story. A masterpiece. I work at 9 tomorrow, by the way, at Coco Fruity, and I work Tuesday, Wednesday at Dinty's. Yeah. Yeah. No, Ivan, seriously, man, are you bluffing, man? Did you really write that? What you show us, did you really write that on your own? I'm not bluffing, guys. I'm not lying. I wrote it on my own. I wrote it with no help. Yeah, man. Live, man, your book's fucking entertaining. Yeah. And what you guys read, what I'm showing you, what you're reading, like the whole, imagine the whole chapter like that. You're constantly, like most of the pages is constant entertainment. You're on the edge of your seat. That's why my book is a page turner. And once I release it, it'll be a public embarrassment to the author, to the industry, man. All these authors are gonna play shit. Yeah, man. There's something about Ivan's book that's very unique. It stands out. And our books are normal, yeah. Ivan's not a normal writer. He's a what? He's a unique writer. His style of writing, there's something different about his story. The characters jump on a page. They feel real. The warbling jumps on the page to the characters. They feel so real. They have distinct voices most of the time, right? You know what I'm saying? It's it's commercial entertainment. It's an amazing story. Yeah. Whereas our books, we have some sections that keep us hooked, but some sections are boring. Whereas Ivan's book, the whole thing is like constant entertainment. Yeah. Yeah, everything you show us, Ivan, it was entertainment. Yeah, it was constant entertainment. Constant entertainment, yeah. Constant entertainment, yeah. Everything you show us was constant entertainment, yeah. Constant entertainment. Yeah, we're a masterpiece, man. Ivan, show us more. No, I'm not showing you more. I don't want to spoil the story for you, man. You'll find out what I mean when you read my amazing book. I can't show you more, guys. I already showed you guys enough scenes. I don't want to spoil the story for you. You'll find out what I mean when you read it, man. Oh, Ivan, please show us more. No, I'm not going to show you, man. I don't want to spoil the story for you, man. You'll find out what I mean when you read it, man. I wrote an amazing book. Number one. I'm saying number one. Yeah. The best story of your life. Guarantee you all the zanies are like, holy shit, and that's your story? That's fucking entertaining, I know. I can't wait when you brought that movie. I know, like, yeah, sick movie. Because this is Brother of the Rings. I know, he's Brother of the Rings. Yeah. So why do the Saudins always say that cannot be when you get to see when they said Tactius claims to be the Prince of Xanus? Because it's shocking. They can't believe it because it's shocking for a Northern. Tactius, the prince from the north, from the world land of Xanus, coming to the cursed south. They can't believe that this prince would be. They can't believe this guy, the Prince of Xanus, would be in the south. That's why they don't believe it. But Lithia's the only one who has the faith. She believes it. She believes Tactius. Belle believes Lithia because she trusts Lithia with her life. Lithia is her best friend. So Belle and Lithia are the only two who pretty much believe. Whereas Eli, Cornelius, Mary, and Job are not really convinced. They're not convinced. Job, like he believes that Tactius might be telling the truth, but even he's not fully convinced. That's where you get that scene with Cassius and Suetonius. They convince Job. To what? To release Tactius. You get that scene when they barge into Eli's quarters in his house. And Cassius convinces Eli to release Tactius. So I'm gonna say I won't spoil the story for you. See what I mean when you read it. An amazing story, yeah. Amazing story, man. Masterpiece. Yeah. Does Tactius become king in the end of the book? In the book, well, I won't spoil the story. You'll find what I mean when you read volume 3. So I'm not saying I won't spoil the story for you. Yeah. Looking at an amazing story, man. A masterpiece. Yeah, I love that scene when in the end of Tactius Galonius, when Cassius and Suetonius, they arrive at the horses. The horses are on a long journey, and Cassius is like, "This horse is thirsty." That was sick. I know. I told an amazing story. Yeah, you're very good at your word choices are very good for a fantasy world. They are, but they're not as good as like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has much richer speech than my book. But my book has the better characters. And compare my characters, guys, to Lord of the Rings, and you see a difference. Man, my characters are jump on the page, whereas J.R.R. Tolkien's characters are more vague and dull. His world jumps on the page. And I showed you guys J.R.R. Tolkien's. I showed you guys J.R.R. Tolkien's book, and you guys compare J.R.R. Tolkien to my book. You see a difference. Some of you guys might like J.R.R. Tolkien better than maybe my Xanus book, but I highly doubt it. My book is more entertaining than J.R.R. Tolkien's book. But there's some haters out there who might say, "Yeah, I like J.R.R. Tolkien's book better than Ivan's book," because they're hating on me because they're jealous. Yeah. But be honest, guys, man. When you read my book and you compare it to J.R.R. Tolkien's book, which book stands out more? Mine or J.R.R. Tolkien's book? Ivan's book stands out more. Yeah, my book's better than J.R.R. Tolkien's book, man. When I said Xanus is better than Lord of the Rings, I wasn't playing around. Xanus is a better novel than J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, I'm sorry. Yeah, man. Yeah. Even J.R.R. Tolkien's writing is normal compared to my writing, right? There's something about my writing that's unique. It's not like normal writing. It's yeah, Ivan, your writing is fucking. It's like abnormal, man. Like you just know how to have us be entertained and engulfed in the story. Yeah, I'm an entertaining author, man. I'm an entertaining storyteller. I know how to tell an entertaining story. Because I have the gift. No, I even seriously, are you bluffing, man? Is your whole book pretty much like that? Yes. Like what I'm showing you, the whole book is like that, man. You're constantly entertained. It's crazy. Hence why once I release my book, when I'm king, obviously, and the world reads it, you're looking for a ride of your lifetime, and you're looking at a public embarrassment, and the whole world will be shocked at my story. Oh my god, this is the best fantasy novel ever written. It's so good. Now, once the world reads my book, all these other fantasy authors that release novels, like the fans read their books, they're like, yeah, like they read their books and they're just like, man, like even though these books are pretty good, man, they're not Ivan's book, man. Ivan's book is way more entertaining than these fucking books. Yeah, yeah, way more entertaining. There's something unique about his writing that just hooks the reader. You're entertained. And these books they feel normal and a bit boring. They're good books, but they're a bit boring and normal. Because Ivan's book is special, man. And it's a unique story. He has a unique writing style. He knows how to hook the reader and entertain you. Yeah, I know how to do the page hook. I call it the page hook, right? Where I can show your mind and I keep you hooked. Because I'm a genius. A creative genius. Yeah. I guarantee you all the screenwriters, Hollywood actors who read my book, and the executives and the producers were all shocked. Holy shit, man. Ivan is a gifted storyteller, man. His book is fucking entertaining. Yeah, it's an entertaining book, man. Hence why when I told you it's a book worth billions, I wasn't playing around. If I wasn't a son of God, I'd still be rich. If I wrote this book, the news of this kind of book would travel around the world. I mean, I'd have to sell it, obviously, because I don't have the keys of all an average person, but I'd still be the next J.K. Rowling. Yeah, my book is buried in George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Malazan, The Wheel of Time, and Game of Thrones, and Way of Kings. Buried in all those books, man. Those books are masterpieces, but they're not my book, man. My book is a more entertaining book. Ivan, please show us more. No, I'm not showing more. I don't want to spoil the story for you, man. I showed you guys enough. I'm not showing you guys anymore, man. You'll find out what I mean when you purchase my book and you read it. Looking at the best novel written, man. A masterpiece. BJ, Ivan, I can't wait to play with you, Ivan. I know, BJ. Yeah. BJ, what? Ivan, I can't wait to read your book. Yeah, BJ's excited about my book. Like an amazing story, man. That's when she meets me, she's like, Ivan, did you really write that book on your own? I'm like, yeah, I did. Holy shit, that's a fucking massive, man. I was so entertained reading your book, I know. Your book is so entertaining, I know. It's an entertaining book. But you'll catch some rawness in my book, obviously, as I showed you guys. Like in Young Tactics chapter, you guys caught a bit of rawness in there. In some of the scenes, but still good enough to keep you hooked. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I caught a bit of rawness in your writing. Like that scene when Tactius says, what I mean to say is I'm from Cyrus, where I'm from. That's a little raw there. You caught some raw dialogue here and there. Ivan could have used better choices of words. He could have used an adder, but still good enough, right? Yeah, I mean, it's still good enough, yeah. Because even the greatest storytellers need adders to add their book. But I don't want anyone touching my story, Sarah. So some people either might hate on you about your book, yeah. Some fans might say, yeah, I like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones better. Ivan's book was a bit raw in some sections, whereas these books are more polished. I like Game of Thrones better, but some of them might say that because they're hating on me. They're just jealous. They know that no author entertained them the way I did, man. Yeah. Be honest, guys, man. Don't lie to me, man. When you read Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and you read my book, you see a difference. But my book is a more entertaining story. Their books they have better word choices, better poetic literature and all that stuff, but the story is not as entertaining, right? At the end of the day, it comes down to your story. What story is more entertaining? You know, Ivan's book's more entertaining than these other books. There's something about his book that's so entertaining, and you're just so shocked by how entertaining it is, and the characters jump out on the page. Like, Ivan knows how to make the characters jump on a page. Yeah, he knows how to make the jump on a page. Yes, I do. I'm a genius. Ivan says, how do you do it? I don't know. Yeah, no, but I don't get it. Like, these authors, when they have the characters have dialogue, they have beautiful words and everything, but the characters don't really they don't jump on the page, they feel dull. When I read your book, the way your dialogue flows and everything, the characters they jump out, they come alive. How do you do that? Like, how do you do that, Ivan? It's a gift. It's I don't know, it's a magic gift I have. I don't know. Like that scene I showed you when Tactius and Tacitonius were drinking ale at the party, that scene when he's like, remember those days, cousin? You know what I'm saying? When we were not of age, we drank juice, not ale. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've not seen, yeah, like your characters jump on a page. Yeah, you jump on a page. How do you do that? It's a gift. I can't show you the trick, right? It's a trick. It's a gift I have, yeah. It's a creative gift that I have. Amen. I have the gift from the heavens. That's why the gates went to my brand, yeah. Because notice how when you guys read other fantasy novels, obviously, when the characters speak, they have beautiful word choices and everything. When you read those books, though, the characters don't really jump out that much on a page. They feel dull, right? In Ivan's book, when I read the dialogue, for somehow the way his dialogue flows and everything, his characters are like they just jump out and they come alive. How the fuck does he do that? Yeah, I don't know. It's a magic gift that I have. I don't know how I do it, man. It's a gift that I have. I'm just good at making the characters jump on the page and making something entertaining. It's a gift that I have. No, Ivan, seriously, man, you are a gift, man. Like, your characters really feel alive when I read your book. Yeah. That's why I told you, when you read my book, it's kind of like reading a book movie. Because the characters are constantly feeling alive and they're jumping out on the page. And that's what, and the story is so interesting and you're just constantly hooked. You're reading, man. It's a masterpiece, my book, yeah. 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 I love that scene when Lithia is like, Father, what's wrong? He's like, not now, Lithia. She's like, tell me. He's like, that man. She's like, who? He's like, you already know. He's like, Colonius? What do you do? Did he prepare you fight again? No, darling, that Colonius are part of nothing but fakes and thieves. Father, Jesus, the how more fires will I get from you? Ivan, that was funny, I know. You're very good at it. That's very entertaining, Ivan. You guys are probably laughing at the scene. Yeah, that was funny, I know. The book's a masterpiece, man. Father, Jesus, the how more fires will I get from you? I mean, that was funny, I know. The scene with Job, you know what I'm saying? Job, I'm sorry, this is stable, you know what I'm saying? Oh, rats, you know what I'm saying? He's like, Job, I take it you had our horses taken care of? Yes, they're well fed and drank. They shall have peace here tonight. And what about Tactius? That was funny, Ivan. Perhaps he rested well enough in the dungeon, per se? I knew this man Job suffered mental problems. You know what I'm saying? And Job draws back. He's like, let me explain. What? How you locked my cousin, the prince, in chains? From a Selvin as well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was sick, I know. I'm an amazing storyteller. Yeah. 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 No, I mean, seriously, man, what you showed us are all your pages with, like, all your chapters like that. Yeah, like, when you read, it's constant entertainment, man. Some pages are not as good as other pages, but they're good enough to entertain you to keep you turning the page. And you're just hooked, man. And before you know it, you binge volume 1, you binge volume 2, and you binge volume 3, and you read a 700, 750 page book. And before you know it, you binge it for 7 hours and you're done. You're like, holy shit, man, this was the best novel I read in my life, man. This is so entertaining. Yeah. That's why book critics behind the scenes are going to say an entertainment ride of a lifetime, a page turner, an epic fantasy tale, a thrilling horror fantasy epic. It's crazy, man. The book critics are going to be giving raving reviews about my book behind the scenes when I'm king, man. It's crazy. And I now become a famous author. That's why a lot of the book nerds are like, Ivan, man, you're going to write more books? I'm like, no. I'm not writing more books. I'm just going to be a movie star with BJ. Because my dream job is to be a movie star. It's not to be an author. I only wrote Xanus because I had no choice. The gatekeepers locked all the doors on me. And that's why I had no choice but to write it. But once I ran out of money on my book and I saw Skies Entertainment, I'm going to be a movie star with BJ. And I will adapt the Xanus movie, and after that I'll do The Great Escape with Keanu Reeves. I'm sorry? Yeah. How good your book is. I guarantee you my book is so good that a lot of people around the world are obviously envious and jealous. Because there's something about Ivan's writing that's very unique. It stands out from all these other novels I read, and he knows how to entertain me and keep me hooked and make his characters jump alive on the page. Like the scene when Papari, and with you know what I'm saying, he like Taki whispers him, Papari, he's like, what? Can't you see I'm eating? Where are your manners, for God's sake? It's the lady from the stairs. You know, I say, well, aren't you going to talk to her? I certainly want to, but I don't want to do it alone. No way am I doing that. I can't talk to one woman, let alone 3 women. Oh, don't be such a little coward. Grow some balls apart. I love that scene, I know. You're looking at a sick book, man. A masterpiece, man. You're going to see me and Yvonne Joje. Yvonne Joje's a farmer boy. You're looking at a sick movie, yeah. Yeah. John Maega's like, holy shit, when your book is entertaining, man. I can't wait to be part of that story. I know. You're going to see John Maega. He's like, our cousin. We seek Prince Tactius. As he happened to have found passage here, you know what I'm saying? You're looking at a sick movie. Yeah. Xanus is number 1. Number 1. It's the best fast novel ever written. Or it might be number 2, number 3. Maybe fans might like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, I don't know. But I think Xanus will be number 1. But some fans might maybe rank it number 3 or something like that. Because some fans might be hating on me. Yeah, I like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones better. It has a richer worldbuilding, better word of choice. But I'm like, okay, you can say that, but like, be honest, man. Like, what book entertained you more, man? Game of Thrones. Okay, if Game of Thrones entertain you, then that's your opinion. At the end of the day, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, right? At the end of the day, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Right? Some fans might hate on me. Yeah, I like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, The Wheel of Time, and Miles and Brother Ivan's book. But I read Lord of the Rings. I read the 3 books of Lord of the Rings, and I read my book. I see a difference. I'm more hooked and entertaining reading my book than I do reading Lord of the Rings. Because Lord of the Rings, even though it's a masterpiece, it's a bit boring for me personally. I showed you guys the difference between Lord of the Rings and Xanus, and you guys obviously saw the picture of Lord of the Rings when I brought the book close to my phone. You guys read that snippet of it. You compare it to my book, you see a difference. My book is more fresh, it's more entertaining. There's a difference, right? That book is amazing, but it seems normal compared to my Lord of the Rings. Whereas my book is very unique, and the characters jump on a page. It's a masterpiece, man. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's a masterpiece. Yeah, man. It's a masterpiece. Well, Ivan, please show us more. No, I'm not showing more. I don't want to spoil any more of the story for you, man. Your book is so good, man. It's so entertaining. I know. You'll find out what I mean when you read it, guys, and you purchase it. It's going to be the best purchase of your life, man. You pay your $22, you read the book, and I take you for a ride. You're going to binge it. I guarantee you most people in the world are going to binge my whole book in one day. Because it's so entertaining, you're going to be hooked for hours reading it, constantly turning the page. That's how good my book is. Have you binged your book a few times? Yeah, I remember one time when the folks printed a portion of my book, I think I read like 2 chapters. I read the Lithia chapter, I read the Captain chapter, and I was fucking hooked. I binged like 2 hours and I'm like, holy shit, this is sick. And I kept turning the page. This is an amazing story, yeah. Because I'm constantly pacing, keeping the story pacing. That way I keep you hooked and you're entertained by the book. I'm a genius, a creative genius, yeah. Is there some raw section in your book? Yes. As I showed you, you're going to catch a little bit of rawness in some sections of my book, but it's still entertaining enough to keep you hooked, man, because I'm a genius, a creative genius. I don't have an editor, right? I don't have an editor. Yeah. How much will you sell a book for, Ivan? The ebook I'll sell for $22. So for those of you guys who are not rich or you don't feel like paying the $85 for the print, you can pay your $22, which is a good deal for you guys. It's not expensive, right? $22, you can purchase the ebook and you can read the book on your laptop. Or if you want to get the beautiful print, the beautiful print edition, you can pay your $85 and get the beautiful print edition. But that $85 is worth it because you're looking at the best fantasy novel ever written. I'm going to take you for a ride, man. You're going to be on the edge of your seat, laughing, going like, yeah. My book is so good, like when you read sections of the chapter and this happens, you're just like, oh my God, oh, I'm ordering takeout, man. You order your takeout, you're just reading my book, you're eating your food, like this happens, and you're laughing, and like, holy shit, this book is sick, and you just keep reading. And I know how to keep going. Holy shit, man. No author has entertained me than Ivan. Ivan's book is fucking entertaining. Yeah, it's an entertaining read, man. Yeah. Every time I read it, I'm laughing. Like that scene with Job, I always laugh, man. I showed you guys. Yeah, that was funny, I know. And what fun drag? There's our previous night. Oh, what about Tactius? Yeah, that was funny, I know. that was funny, son. That was funny. Yeah. Perhaps he rested well enough in the dungeon, per se. Yeah, it was crazy, man. That was funny. Yeah. I knew it to be true. Silence, daughter. Yeah. Yeah. Why did Lithia say I knew to be true? Because Lithia had faith. Lithia believed that what Tactius is saying is true. So Lithia, that's where you get the biblical symbolism in the Bible. Lithia has like great. Know how remember when Jesus came back from death, the resurrection of Jesus, obviously, and the woman was weeping and she believed. You can get some symbols of that from Lithia. Tactius tells Lithia, "I'm the Prince of Xanus." And even though like she thought he was a farmer and all that stuff. When Tacitus told her, I'm really the Prince of Xanus, she's like, I believe you. I think you're telling the truth. Lithia has the faith, whereas the other Southerners don't have that faith because it's impossible. It's hard to believe that the prince from the Northern Kingdom, the Prince of Xanus, of the royal family from the north, who has all that status and wealth, is coming down to the cursed south. It's hard to believe that that guy is the Prince of Xanus. So what the fuck is the Prince of Xanus doing in the south? That's why the Southerners can't believe it. It's shocking to them, yeah. Obviously. Hence what that scene when Lithia says, I knew it to be true. Eli's like, silence Zara, because Eli doesn't like Tacitus. Yeah, he can't believe that what Tacitus is saying is true. That's why he's like, silence daughter. That's why Cassius has to convince him that Tacitus is the rightful heir to the throne, the Prince of Xanus. I was looking at maps that I wrote. Amazing story. Some Sarah. I think that's a sick story, man, when you read it, man. Amazing story. Yeah. Do you notice how I give very vague warbling in my book? I barely describe what the castle. I just say the queen is in her royal throne. She's in the castle. I don't describe what the castle looks like. I get right to the point with the characters, and that makes your story more interesting. Because if you spend time dumping the reader with 3-4 pages, one line is like, you're gonna bore the reader, man. That's what a lot of these authors do, because they don't really know how to entertain the fans. Don't hate me, guys. I'm sad. No, they do. They do know how to entertain the fans. They wrote masterpieces, but they don't really know the trick, man. That I have. I have the trick. I have the magic trick. I know how to control your mind and keep you hooked, and make the characters come alive with my dialogue. But I even like when these authors have dialogue, their characters don't come alive. When you write it, your characters come alive. How do you do that? It's just a gift. It's a trick. It's a one trick magic. It's a magic trick that I have. I don't know how I do it. It's just a gift. I can't tell you how I do it. It's just a gift that I have. No, seriously, man, are you bluff, man? Did you really write what you showed us? Yes, I did, guys. I'm not lying. I wrote that, man. I wrote that all on my own. Holy shit, I mean, when you said you were a gifted storyteller, you are gifted. Yes, I'm a gifted storyteller. I know how to tell a good story. And you guys also read my beginning of They're Unique. Ivan, that was entertaining too. Yeah, that sounds like a 6 start to your story. Yes, that was entertaining too. If I wrote They're Unique would have been a masterpiece too, an amazing story too. I don't think it would have been as good as Xanus, but it would have been a highly entertaining story too, because I'm gifted. I know how to tell a good story. Yeah. Some Sarah? I'm only going to make maybe a 1 hour 20 minute video, guys. I'm tired. It's getting late. It's already 6:30. And I work at 9. I don't want to go to bed. No, I'll go to bed maybe at 12 o'clock tonight. After this video, I might watch maybe. I didn't finish the finale of Assassin's Creed Rabbit. I might watch it after this video. Yeah. Because Ivan, I love your book. Your book is so amazing. I was so entertained. I know, VJ. I can't wait to read that book. I know, VJ. Looking at an amazing story. That's why once I'm here, you say, Ivan, did you really write that book? I'm like, yeah, I did. Holy shit, Ivan, you're a fucking gifted storyteller. You took me for a ride. I love the character of Lithia, Ivan. I know, VJ. Lithia is a very, very unique character in the story. She has the faith. Yeah. Obviously. That's where you get the biblical system of Jesus in the Bible. Jesus Jesus came down from his high rank and glory in heaven, supposedly, with the Father and Holy Spirit, down to our level on to earth, in the filthy earth. And he was the Son of God, obviously, God in flesh, and the crowds didn't believe it, obviously. Tactius, the prince from the holy north, comes down to the cursed south. I won't tell you why he comes down to the south. And that guy gets thrown in a dungeon, and he tells them the Prince of Xanus, they don't believe it. Just like when Jesus said that he's the Son of God, the Pharisees didn't believe it. They accused him of blasphemy, and they put him to death. Tactius was on trial, and he was thrown in a dungeon. That's the symbolism in the Bible. Sam's like, haven't I caught that symbolism? Yeah, that's the symbolism of the Bible, Sam. And Lithia is the one has faith. That's why when Cassius says, that man you locked in the dungeon is my cousin, Tactius, the royal heir, Prince of Xanus, she's like, I knew it to be true. You know what I'm saying? Because she has to faith. That's why Eli's like, silence, daughter. Yeah, because Eli doesn't like Tactius. It's actually funny. I love that scene, I know. Yeah, I know. I know, it's a sick book, son. You know. Yeah. Ivan, please show us more. No, guys. I don't want to spoil the story for you, man. No, if I want to read my book, man, I think I'm a sick book. Yeah. No, Ivan, seriously, man, when I read these other books, whenever the characters have dialogue, their characters don't really jump on the page. They feel very dull. When I read your dialogue, the characters just come alive. How the fuck you do it? Like, both authors have dialogue, and then when you do dialogue, your characters feel real and they come alive. When these other authors do dialogue, it feels more dull. How do you do it, Ivan? I don't know. I can't tell you. It's just a gift that I have, man. I'm a creative genius. God gave me the gift. Like, your characters really jump on the page, whereby it feels so real, I know. And that's why my story is so entertaining. It's a masterpiece, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. When I tell you Xanus is a billion-dollar story, I wasn't playing around. Xanus is a billion-dollar story. Yeah, it's worth billions because I'm a son of God and I have the keys and the whole will buy my book. But it's also a billion-dollar story. If I wasn't the son of God and I wrote this book, the news of this story would travel worldwide and it'd beat out Harry Potter and Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and Malzahn and Wheel of Time and Brand Sanderson, Stormlight, Way of Kings. It beat it out, obviously. What's the one criticism people have about your book? Okay, the one criticism people have of my book, Ivan's book, is a little raw in some sections, obviously. It's a little raw in some sections, obviously. You'll catch it. You guys already caught some of it when I showed you some of my book. You caught some rawness in my dog, obviously. Some sections of it's a little raw, but it's still entertaining. And the character of Eretaz is not developed as well as the human characters. When you read the book, Eretaz developed pretty well, but he's not as developed as well as Tactius. I focus more on the humans. I also focus a lot on Eretaz and the wolves, but I focus more on Tactius and the humans. The character of Eretaz is not developed as well as Tactius, obviously, when you read the book. You'll see him when you read it, guys. Eretaz is not, I'm giving you a heads up, Eretaz is not developed as well as the human characters when you read my book, but it's still entertaining and you're still hooked. It's still a masterpiece, man. Right? Yeah. My book is a masterpiece. Yeah, man. It's a masterpiece, yeah, man. Yeah, man. I wrote a masterpiece. That's why the Gates want to control my brand. They know how good my book is, but they're not touching a dime of my book, man. That book is for me and my wife. It's not for you. You're just a greedy pig. You have your trillions around the world. You won't even let her be worth $1 million when she sells to you. I'm not gonna have you dupe me and steal my money and have you do me. No way, man. I'd rather wake up 1 million and have you do that, man. I know it's scary to die. I'd rather go through that horror and wake up 1 million and have you do that, man. Because all what happens after I die, I wake up 1 million in the hospital and I get over it, and VJ gets her healing. I get her all fresh in myself. And I now control the Xanus brand, and I now make the billions of my book. The Gates don't touch my money. And with that money, I can start Sky's Entertainment with VJ. Start Sky's Entertainment with VJ, and I can make that amazing Xanus movie. Obviously. Ivan, are you more excited for Xanus or The Great Escape? Xanus, man. Xanus is a fucking masterpiece. But Xanus is more work for me. But The Great Escape, I'm excited for The Great Escape with Keanu Reeves, obviously too, but I'm more excited for Xanus. Because Xanus is a fucking amazing story. As I showed you guys, it's a fucking masterpiece, man. It's amazing facts now. It's gonna be the best movie children made, man. Look at that masterpiece. Come on. People tell me, yeah, Ivan, your movie will be the best movie children made. This is better than Lord of the Rings, Ivan. Yeah, Ivan, no, seriously, man. Your movie will be better than Lord of the Rings. Yeah, better than Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings. I bet it shows you. I showed you guys snippets in my book, and now you guys understand why it'll be a better movie trilogy than Lord of the Rings. Again, an amazing story. Now, so Sarah, looking at a masterpiece. Give me a second, guys. I'm gonna go upstairs and get my coffee. Make some coffee myself. I'll be back in a second. Skip it if you want to wait. Don't hang him, saying. I hope you guys on this show. Alright, I'm back, guys. Well, I'm supposed to get my coffee. My room's getting a little bit messy. It's not that messy, still pretty clean, but this week I'm gonna put the cans, I have to sweep here and mop it again. It's getting dirty again. But everything else in my room is pretty clean. I might have to wash my bed sheets maybe another week after this, but my room's still, I'm doing my best to maintain my room. Yeah. 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 So I hope I impressed you guys from what I showed you. Yo, Ivan, I was impressed, man. Your story's fucking entertaining. Yeah, man. You're looking at a ride of a lifetime, man. An amazing story, man. Whereby you're just shocked. I guarantee you guys were shocked when you read my book. Holy shit. I thought Ivan was gifted, but I didn't know he was that gifted, man. Like, everything I read, I was fucking entertained. I was hooked, man. This is a fucking sick story. Yeah, it's a sick story, man. Whereby you're hooked. I'm a gifted writer, yeah. I'm a gifted writer, yeah. So, Ivan, your book is a public embarrassment. Yeah. When I release my book and the world reads it, it'll be an embarrassment to the industry. Like, every time when all these other authors, all these other books come out, after you read my book, it's like a letdown. Like, yeah, this book is pretty interesting, but it's not Ivan's book, man. Ivan's book is so fucking entertaining. It's like, these books are not Ivan's book. Yeah, it's a public embarrassment. Yeah, hence why I'm going to be crowned the king of fantasy. Right now, J.R.R. Tolkien is the king of fantasy, or you can argue George R. Martin's the king of fantasy. They called George R. Martin the American Tolkien. Obviously, I don't think Game of Thrones is as good as, I never read Game of Thrones, but I saw the shows, and from what I've seen from the shows, Game of Thrones is not as good as Lord of the Rings. But I heard a lot of fans go back and forth with Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, obviously, but I give it to J.R.R. Tolkien. I think J.R.R. Tolkien currently right now is the king of fantasy. I don't think anything is better than Lord of the Rings right now. Because even though Lord of the Rings is a bit boring, obviously, it's still a masterpiece because the world building is amazing and it's an amazing story. Obviously, I was impressed by what I read with J.R.R. Tolkien, but sometimes I have to force myself to read like 2-3 chapters because J.R.R. Tolkien goes on a rampage with his info dumps, man. It's crazy. He goes on for like 2-3 pages describing a tree, a grass that can get boring sometimes. And his characters are a bit dull. They don't jump on the page. J.R.R. Tolkien's characters don't jump on the page, man. They're a bit dull. They don't really feel that real. Obviously. But his word choice and everything is amazing, everything. But you guys read my book and you read Lord of the Rings. You see a difference. My book is more entertaining Lord of the Rings. But some of you guys might think Lord of the Rings is more entertaining. It's your opinion, obviously. But I think my book is the better read. I'm sorry. Or maybe not. Maybe I might not be crowned king of fantasy. Maybe my book may be the third best book. Maybe third, fourth, fifth best book. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, even though Ivan's book was a masterpiece, it's a bit raw in some sections. I like Lord of the Rings better, but I mean, ignore the haters. They're just hating on you because they know that what. No author kept them entertained the way I did, man. Even though some section of my book is raw, you were still entertained and you kept turning the page. Be honest, man. Did any other author, fantasy author, entertain you the way I did? What I showed you, man. Be honest with yourselves, guys. Sincere. Yeah, my book is more entertaining. Right? Yeah. No, I like Lord of the Rings better. Okay, you're entitled to your own opinion. If you like Lord of the Rings better, that's your opinion. I'm not going to get mad at you over that. Everyone's entitled. Everyone has their. Every story hits people in different ways. If you like Lord of the Rings better and you're more entertained by Lord of the Rings, I understand. Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece, and J.R.R. Tolkien wrote an amazing book, and his world building is richer and deeper than mine. So, if I'm not king of fantasy once I really read my book, and maybe my book is maybe second, third, fourth best, I understand. I'm not going to be pissed off about it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, obviously, right? Because people might say my book maybe is a third, fourth best, fifth best, and they might like maybe Way of Kings and George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones better than my book. It might happen, right? You never know. But I think my book will be number one. But some people might like those other books better than my book. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, obviously, Sarah. Yeah. Like from what I showed you guys, because even though I'm a humble man, I don't want to be an asshole, be cocky. Even though I think my book will be number one, from what I showed you guys, maybe some of you guys said, yeah, I was entertained, but I still like Way of Kings and Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones better, right? Like maybe some of the people in the world maybe think Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings is better than my book. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, obviously, some Sarah. Yeah. Obviously. I'm gonna be humble here. Some of you guys who read portions of my book, yeah, your book is entertaining, and I still like Game of Thrones and Way of Kings, Lord of the Rings better. You're entitled to an opinion, obviously. Some Sarah. I'm not gonna hate on you for that. Some Sarah. I'm gonna be humble here, obviously, because sometimes I can be a bit of an asshole. I can be cocky, because in real life I'm a very, very humble man. But I like bragging on this channel because you guys piss me off. You lock the doors on me and you keep behind the scenes. That's why I brag like crazy on this channel. But in real life, I'm a humble man. I'm a very humble man in real life, obviously. Yeah. Some Sarah. So I hope you guys were impressed from what I showed you so far. I'm not showing you more, by the way. And did I entertain you enough? Is my book more entertaining than the other books, Ivan? Some of you guys might say, yeah, your book is more entertaining, Ivan. Some of you guys might say, no, Ivan, your book is entertaining, but it's a bit raw. I like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and all these other books better. Some people might obviously think that. I'm not gonna be cocky. I don't want to be cocky and be an asshole. You gotta be humble. It's gonna be humble, obviously, some Sarah. Yeah. I think my book's number one, but from what I showed you guys, I hope I impressed you. And if you guys didn't like it, if some of you guys didn't like it and you think Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and all those books are better, I understand. Yeah, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Some art doesn't hit people the same way it hits other people, right? Everyone has their own personal taste when it comes to how the art of the book hits them, right? Yeah. As I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to hate you for that, Samsara. I'm going to be humble here, Samsara, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I liked your read, but I like George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones better. I understand. If you like it better, that's fine. Art hits everyone in different ways, right? I'm not gonna judge you for that. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not gonna judge you for that. Yeah. Yeah. So, you think some fans might like Lord of the Rings better than your book? Yeah, of course. Some fans might be like, yeah, I like Lord of the Rings better than Ivan's book because Ivan's book was a bit raw. It's a bit raw in some sections. I like Lord of the Rings better. I understand. If you like Lord of the Rings better, I understand. I'm not going to judge you for it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I think Xanus will be number one. I don't want to be cocky. I think it is number one, but some people might like Lord of the Rings and George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones better. Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Way of Kings series better. They might like Wheel of Time better. Like Daniel Green loves Wheel of Time. He might be like, yeah, I like Ivan's book, but it's a bit raw. Wheel of Time's still the better read for me. Yeah, everyone has their own opinions. I'm not gonna. Yeah, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Samsara? Brownie Durfee might like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones are Brownie Durfee's two favorite fantasy series. Brownie Durfee, when he reads my book, he might be like, yeah, Ivan's book was really good, highly entertaining, but was a little bit raw in some sections. I like Lord of the Rings better. Lord of the Rings is my better read. You might like George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones better. Yeah, like some people might like these other books better, obviously, right? Everyone has art hits everyone in different ways. I think Xanus is number one, but some people might like the other books better. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I'm sorry, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Art hits everyone in different ways. I think I might purchase the Game of Thrones book and read it. I'm watching the shows right now, but I want to read the books. Because the only fantasy series I've only read Narnia and Lord of the Rings. I never read any other fantasy books before. I might purchase the Game of Thrones series and read it. Yeah. Obviously. Because I always wonder what book is better, Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. Some fans say most fans will say Lord of the Rings is the best, but some fans say Game of Thrones is better. But from what I've seen from the shows, I think Lord of the Rings has the better story than Game of Thrones. Because Game of Thrones, you just have the Seven Kingdoms and you have the Stark family. You have you know what I'm saying? Like it's a good story, but I think Lord of the Rings is a better story than that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously. So Ivan, what do you think? Ivan, I'm talking to you. What do you think? Do you think the world was impressed by your writing? I think you guys were impressed by my writing because when I read my book, I'm very entertained. I'm laughing. I'm very entertained. I think when you guys read my book, I think you guys are very entertained in my book. But some of you guys, art hits people different ways. Some of you guys might still think, yeah, Ivan's book was entertaining, but I like Game of Thrones better. I like A Little Time better. I like Lord of the Rings better. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own taste, obviously. Yeah, Ivan's book is entertaining, but like Jerry Tolkien has a richer world building. He has his word choice is richer. I enjoy Lord of the Rings more in Ivan's book, and George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not gonna what judge you if you like these other books better, right? Yeah, I think Xanus is number one, but I mean, there's art hits people in different ways, right? There's some people might criticize the rawness of my writing. You know, Ivan's book's a bit raw when I read it, as you guys saw in my writing, right? Yeah, some of your dialogue is a bit raw, obviously, but it's still fucking entertaining. Yeah, it's still entertaining, obviously. So because Ivan's book's a bit raw, I like Lord of the Rings and George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones better. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinions because Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings are also masterpieces too. They're amazing books. They're amazing books, I'm sorry. Yeah. They're amazing books, yeah. When you read Lord of the Rings, yeah, Lord of the Rings, I might reread it maybe two more times. I read it once already. I read Fellowship of the Ring 2.5 times. I read Fellowship of the Ring when I was in grade 5. I read the whole book, and I read another half of it when I did my read along. And I also read Two Towers, and I read Return of the King. I might go back and reread it to understand the story better. Reread Lord of the Rings again. I might read Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings is not a book I can read like 20 times in my life. Because for me, it's a little boring for me. For me personally, I know a lot of fans love. I know all you J.R. Tolkien fans love Lord of the Rings, but for me personally, in my the way the art hit me, it's a masterpiece, but it's a little boring for me. That's why I can't read it. I can't read it like 20 times in my life. I just can't read it 20 times in my life. But I can read it maybe 2 more times, maybe 3 more times in my life. Obviously. But in terms of, from what I've read from Lord of the Rings in my book, for me personally, I don't know how you guys feel about it when you read all you guys on Fantasy Reddit, all you fantasy book nerds who read Lord of the Rings and read my book. Art hits everyone in different ways. For me personally, when I read my book and I read Lord of the Rings, I'm more entertained and I'm more drawn to my story than I am Lord of the Rings, based off my personal experience. For me personally, I don't know what you guys feel, all you guys who read Lord of the Rings, but for me personally, my book Xanus, I'm more entertained when I read it, and I'm more drawn to the characters, and I'm more drawn to the story than I am Lord of the Rings. Even though Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece. Hence why I think my book is better than Lord of the Rings. But I told you, art hits people in different ways. Some people might like Game of Thrones better, Way of Kings, Lord of the Rings. They might like those books better because art hits people in different ways. So I'm saying? Yeah. Thank you, Ivan. You're very humble. You're now a little bit humble. Yeah, I'm gonna be humble. I don't want to be a cocky. I don't want to be so cocky and say everyone will like Zayn better than Lord of the Rings. No, there might be some fans who hate on me. Yeah, I like Lord of the Rings better and Game of Thrones better. Yeah, if it's your opinion, if art hits people in different ways, if you like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones better, then that's fine. Obviously, I'm not going to judge you for it, right? Art hits people in different ways. So, Sarah, art hits people in different ways. Yeah. Because there's some people who might not like my style of writing. You know, Ivan's style of writing is very weird. The way he constructs his sentences and the characters, he says Captain. I don't like that style. Some people might not like my style of writing. Yeah. I prefer J.R.R. Tolkien's style more, George R. Martin's style more, Brandon Sanderson's style more. Yeah, everyone's entitled to opinions, obviously. Those guys are also amazing authors too, right? Brandon Sanderson's an amazing author. Yeah, he wrote Way of Kings. George R. Martin wrote Game of Thrones. Yeah, amazing books, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. The honest Ivan, thank you, Ivan. You're very humble. Yeah, it's good to be humble, man. I think Xanus is number one. I don't mean to be cocky. I think it is number one. But I told you, like, I've read Lord of the Rings and I read my book. I've read my book and I've read Lord of the Rings. When I read based off my personal experience, I'm taking away the bias. Ivan, you're biased because you wrote it. No. I'm taking off my bias goggles, obviously, and I'm gonna be very, very fair critically. When I read Lord of the Rings, even though it's a masterpiece, I'm a little bit bored when I read it. When I read my book, I've read my book many times. When I read my book, I'm more drawn to the characters, to the story, and I'm more entertained. For me personally, I'm more hooked and I'm more entertained reading my book than I am Lord of the Rings, based off what I've read. I'm sorry, because I read Lord of the Rings, I read my book. When I read my book, I am more entertained. I'm more drawn to the story. I'm more hooked than I am reading Lord of the Rings. But art hits people in different ways. Some of you guys on Fantasy Red, I'm saying you might, like, oh, I like Lord of the Rings better. Yeah, it's fine. Art hits people in different ways. I'm not gonna say everyone's gonna like Zane's better than Lord of the Rings. Some people might like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and Way of Kings better than my book. Yeah, I'm saying, obviously. Beware of the haters, Ivan. Some guys are gonna hate. A lot of fans are gonna hate on you, man. Yeah, I like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings better. Okay, if you didn't like my book, that's fine. Art hits people in different ways, right? I'm not gonna judge you for that, right? Yeah. So, Sarah? Yeah. Yeah. Art hits people in different ways. Some of the diehard Harry Potter fans might say, yeah, I like Harry Potter more than Last of Us. Yeah. Some of the diehard Harry Potter fans, Harry Potter has a big fan base. Some of the diehard Harry Potter fans might say, yeah, I like, even though I love the Last of Us trilogy, I like the Harry Potter trilogy better. Yeah, art hits everyone different ways, man. Some Sarah? Yeah. Yeah. That's why maybe I might purchase the Game of Thrones book and read it. I never read Game of Thrones. I've seen the shows. I'm on season 3 of Game of Thrones. I want to read the books because I always go online. I see this debate. Most fans think Lord of the Rings is better than Game of Thrones, but there's some fans out there who think Game of Thrones is better than Lord of the Rings. But from what I've seen from the shows, I think Lord of the Rings is a better story than Game of Thrones. I want to read Game of Thrones to see if it's better than Lord of the Rings, right? Because I read Lord of the Rings, but I want to read Game of Thrones to see what book is better, obviously, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like Daniel Green, the big booktuber, his favorite fantasy series is Wheel of Time. And I heard Wheel of Time is an amazing fantasy series. He might like Wheel of Time better than my book. Yeah, Ivan's book was good, but it's a bit raw. I like Wheel of Time better. Yeah, everyone has their own personal taste. Everyone's entitled to their own personal opinion. I'm not going to be, cocky here, right? I personally think Xanus is number 1, but some people might not think that, right? They might be like, no, Xanus is number 2, is number 3, is number 4, is number 5, is number 6. It just depends on how art hits you, right? Art hits everyone in different ways. The reading experience for every reader is subjective. Art hits everyone in different ways, right? Right? Yeah. Art hits everyone in different ways. Samsara? Yeah. Ivan, do you think everyone was impressed by what they read? I hope. I think you guys were impressed because when I read my book, I'm very entertained. I'm very hooked, obviously. But maybe some people didn't like my book. I don't know. If you guys didn't like it, and that's your opinion, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna I'm not gonna judge you for it. Right? Art hits everyone in different ways, right? Yeah, obviously. I hope VJ liked it. I hope you liked it, sweet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I didn't like your book. You know what I'm saying? I hope VJ likes my book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. 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 So, Ivan, when you read Lord of the Rings and you read your book, like, are you saying your book is better because you're biased? No, like when I say my book is better than Lord of the Rings, I'm taking off my bias goggles. I'm trying to be as fair as I can. And when I read when I read Lord of the Rings and I read my book, the art of my book hit me more than Lord of the Rings. I'm more entertained when I read it. It feels more fresh. The characters jump on the page. Whereas Lord of the Rings, for me personally, even though it's a masterpiece and George R. Martin, J.R. Tolkien's a legend, he built the beautiful that he created that beautiful world. Obviously, he wrote a masterpiece. Obviously. For For me personally, it's a little boring. For me personally, I don't know. Some of you guys, I know you love Lord of the Rings because you're crazy Lord of the Rings fans. For me personally, when I read Lord of the Rings, it's a little boring for me, obviously, in some sections. And the art didn't hit me the way Xanus did. Xanus hit me more compared to Lord of the Rings when I read it, when I read my book. I read Lord of the Rings and I read my book. There's something about, I see a difference. I read Lord of the Rings, there's something about my book where the characters jump on the page, the story is pacing, it's more entertaining. I feel more drawn to the world, it's more entertaining, and I'm more drawn to the story, and it feels very fresh. I get that fresh feeling. You know that fresh, refreshing feeling? I get that refreshing feeling when I read my book. I'm more hooked, I'm more entertained. When I read Lord of the Rings, I don't get that fresh feeling. I get more of that dry feeling when I read it. It feels very dry. Like something... Lord of the Rings, like when I read Lord of the Rings, the reason why I call Lord of the Rings a boring masterpiece, because Lord of the Rings, even though it's a masterpiece, obviously, it feels a bit dry. It doesn't feel alive. The pages, the story doesn't feel fresh. It feels dry, a little dry. It doesn't have that water spark that freshes up the story that my story has. You guys see what I'm saying here? My story has that spark, that water that makes the story fresh, and I feel more entertained. I'm taking off my bias glasses here. I'm your bias, your old age. No. I'm taking off my bias goggles, guys. When I read Lord of the Rings, you know what I'm saying? It's a masterpiece, but it feels dry to me. A little dry. It doesn't feel fresh when I read it. That's why it's a bit boring for me in some sections. Some sections, obviously. Whereas when I read my book, I get that spark. I'm more entertained. It feels more fresh. You know what I'm saying? I'm more entertained. It feels more fresh, and I'm more hooked when I read the story. Hence why I think my book is better than Lord of the Rings. But from what you guys read so far, from what I showed you, I hope you guys enjoyed it, obviously. And if you didn't like it, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for it. If you didn't like my style of writing, I understand. No, I liked your book, but I like George R. R. Martin's book better. I like Wheel of Time. I like Way of Kings. I like Lord of the Rings better. If you like it better, that's your opinion. Art hits everyone in different ways. So I'm saying? Art hits everyone in different ways. That's the truth, yeah. I'm sorry? Yeah. Art hits everyone in different ways. I'm sorry? Yeah. Art hits everyone in different ways. Yeah. Yeah. Was your writing always this good? No, it wasn't. When I started, I told the story when my parents kept taking away. I remember back in 2010, when I was in the adult ed, obviously finishing up my high school. I remember my step parents kept taking away I was playing games. They'd take away my PS3. They'd take away the internet cord. They would even take away the DVD player, and I wouldn't be able to watch movies. And I decided to write this Islamic. That's when I started writing my first book. My first book that I wrote was not Xanus, guys. I wrote this other book. It was an Islamic story. Sam Shamoon would have liked it. It was pretty good, obviously. But my writing was not as good back then. It was not as good, but because I practiced my writing, I honed my craft in writing. The book, because I'm a creative genius, the book was still pretty good. It was still an entertaining book, but it was not as good as Xanus, right? I wrote that book. I wrote like 30,000. I was going to write, that would have been the first book I would have wrote. I remember my younger what? Because I used to watch ABN back then, obviously, and I get information about Islam and everything. And then my younger ABN was Xanus and David Wood right back in the day, right? And I remember my younger stepbrother, he told me, Ivan, don't write this book, man. I'm like, why? He's like, you're gonna offend the Muslims, Ivan. Yeah. So I was like, Ivan, what would I do for your story? My idea for the story, I told you guys, there was this family, obviously, and you have you had this imam. He was a powerful imam, obviously, in Saudi Arabia. He had 2 sons, and he was training them in the ways of Islam, obviously, and then he also had a daughter, and he had a wife, and the oldest son is like the main character. Pretty much, the imam trains him to be the next imam. He trains him in the Quran, obviously. But then during his life, obviously, he noticed that his father, who's an imam, his father treats his wife like shit. He beats his wife. He beats his sister, obviously, and eventually it got to him, obviously, and it gets to him. And he finds out that the Quran, Islam is not true. There's something off about Islam, and his younger brother doesn't care if their father hits the wife and the daughter, but the oldest son, it got to him because his father kept beating his wife. He kept beating his daughter. He would treat them like shit, obviously. And the story was called Apostasy, and he ends up escaping. He ends up escaping. He gets his mother and his daughter, his mother and his sister, and they escape, and they convert to Christianity, and they're on the run. And because the imam is powerful, they're on the run. That sounds like a sick story. Yeah, it was a pretty sick story, obviously. But my younger brother told me, Ivan, don't write this book, man. You're going to offend the Muslims, obviously. Because in the Quran, it teaches that you can beat your wife, you can beat woman, and a woman's testimony is half of that of a man. Obviously, I call it Apostasy. That was my first book I wrote. Obviously, Ivan, why did you write that book? Because back then, I was very into like ABN and all that stuff. I watched like Sam Shamoon when he was fat, and I'm saying. Him, Pastor Joseph, and David Wood on ABN. I used to watch ABN Cell all the time, right? Back in the day, 2010. Yeah. That's what led me to write. I was really into apologetics at the time. I used to watch Sam Shamoon all the time on ABN, and David Wood on ABN, and Pastor Joseph, the dynamic trio. Remember that, guys? All you apologetic guys? Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, and that's what led me to write that book. But I stopped writing it because my younger brother told me, Ivan, man, because he read my book, Ivan, man, you don't write this book. I know why my younger brother told me don't write it. He didn't want me to be king, because he knows I'll write my book. That's the journey for me becoming king. But he told me, Ivan, if you write this book, man, you're going to offend the Muslims, man. Don't write this. He told me that. I'm like, okay, I won't write it. It was very offensive to Muslims. Because you have the imam, he's beating his wife, he's beating his daughter, and I put the Quran verses in there, the Quran quotations in there. The Quran, what the Quran says about beating your wife and everything. He's like, Ivan, if you write this book, you're going to offend the Muslims. Sam's like, who gives a shit about the Muslims? You should have wrote that book. I know, Sam, but I decided not to write it because my younger brother told me you're going to offend the Muslims. That's why I didn't write it, man. It was very offensive to Muslims. yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I stopped writing. When did you start writing that book? I started writing that book in 2010. I wrote 4 chapters. I wrote 30,000 words. I wrote quite a bit of that book. I wrote 30,000 words. 30,000 words is a good, I don't know. That's like 60. I wrote a good 70 pages worth of that book. And I stopped writing it. Obviously. And then a year later, I decided to write a fantasy novel. Okay, I want to write a fantasy novel. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I started I did my first brainstorming and everything back in 2011. And then 2 years later, I wrote my first prologue. My first prologue was pretty good, but it was me telling, and I rewrote it in the hospital. And that's my journey to writing Xanus. I wrote my Xanus book. My fast novel, Last of Xanus. Amazing story, amazing journey, yeah. 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 I remember when I started writing Last of Xanus, when I started writing it, I was a bit I had a little bit of writer's block. I'm like, okay, how the fuck am I gonna, what story should I come up with? I was constantly thinking, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know I was gonna have the gift back then. I had a little bit of writer's block, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope I write a good story, man. You know, so I hope my story doesn't suck. Yeah. But even when I wasn't God, I always had that gut feeling that if I wrote a book, my book would be a bestseller. I always had that gut feeling in my mind, and then I find I'm God, I have the keys, and my book will be a bestseller. Because I'm God, I have the keys, the gates locked doors of me. It's a crazy story, yeah. When did you figure out you had the gift? I figured out I had the gift once I started writing all my chapters. Once I started writing chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and I was reading it, I was like, holy shit, man, my book is fucking entertaining. There's something very special about my book. It's very entertaining. And I kept writing volume 2 and volume 3, and I read my whole book. I'm like, holy shit, this is a masterpiece, man. This is a commercial story. And and then when I found out I was God, I knew, yeah, God gave me the gift. That's when I knew. Obviously, some saying. That's why I knew I had the creative gift, obviously. Yeah. Is Eratat a great villain in your story? Yeah, Eratat's a great villain in my story, but the wolf characters are not developed as well as the human characters. I'm going to give you a heads up. The wolf characters in my book are not developed as well as the human characters. I focus more on tactics and the humans, less on the wolves, but the wolves are developed pretty well, but they're not as developed as well as the humans. That's why some fans might tell me, yeah, the character of Eratat was not developed that well. Ivan's a bit of a raw writer. I like Lord of the Rings better. I understand if art hits everyone different ways. If you don't like my book as much as Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, I understand. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna judge you for it. Art hits everyone different ways. From what I showed you guys, some of you guys might have not liked my writing. If you didn't like my writing, I understand. Art hits everyone different ways. I'm sorry. You know, I like your writing, but I like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings Way of Kings better. I understand. If you like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and Way of Kings better, I understand. Art hits everyone different ways. Some saying? Yeah. Yeah. No, Eratat's story arc is not developed as well in Volume 1 and Volume 2, but Volume 3 is when his character arc is developed pretty well. Volume 3 is when it gets deep. Eratat's character gets more developed in Volume 3. But in Volume 1 and 2, it's kind of like the build-up. It's not developed as well. Obviously, when you read it. But he's still, in my opinion, he's still amazing villain. He's an amazing villain in my book. But the wolf characters are not developed as well as the human characters. You'll see what I mean when you read my book. They're not developed as well as the human characters. So if you guys are shocked that Eretat was not developed as well as Tacitus, I gave you the heads up. The wolf characters in my book are not developed as well as the human characters. I focus more on Tacitus than the humans, but I also developed the wolf characters pretty well. Until Volume 3. Volume 3 is when the story picks up and it gets deep. That's when Eretat's story arc is now, it's more developed. But Volume 1 and Volume 2 is like the build-up. It's not developed as well as the human characters. I'm going to give you the heads up, guys, when you read my book. So Ivan, show us the wolf scenes. No, I don't want to show you the wolf scenes. I don't want to spoil the story for you, man. By showing the wolf scenes, I'm spoiling a lot of the story for you. Hence why I didn't show you any. I only showed you like 2 scenes of the wolf scenes. When Tacitonius and Cassius get captured, and when Eretat interrogates Cassius and Tacitonius when they're in Barak. That's all I gave you. I'm not giving you any more. I don't want to spoil the story for you, Sarah. Why does Eretat know in that scene that Cassius and them are looking for someone special? Because he knows the Northerns would never come to the South. The Northerns fear the wolves. They would never ever come to the South. That's why Eretat is like, you are in my domain, my territory. What the fuck are you doing in my territory? You're not welcome here. Yeah, because the Eretat sees the Northerns as intruders. That's his territory. Just like the Northerns see Eretat as an intruder too if he comes to the North. They're not welcoming each other's territory. Hence why Eretat figured out, yeah, these Northerns must be here because they're looking for someone special. He figured it out, Eretat. And that leads to the story. I want to spoil the story for you, Sarah. Yeah. Seven o'clock already. Almost done a video, guys. I've already talked for an hour and 40 minutes. So I really think some people will think your book is not number 1. Yeah, obviously. There's some fans who are going to hate on me. Yeah, Ivan, I like your book, but I like Lord of the Rings better. Oh, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? If you like Lord of the Rings better, that's your opinion. I'm not going to judge you for it, right? Everyone is entirely their own opinion. Art hits everyone in different ways. But when I take off my bias goggles and I read Lord of the Rings, I read my book, there's something about my book that feels fresh. Whereas Lord of the Rings, it feels dry. There's something dry about it. There's no spark in the story. That's why I see it. And because there's no spark in the story, there's no freshness in the story, that's why I see it. That's why some fans see it as a little bit of a boring masterpiece. Because it doesn't have that fresh spark that ignites the story. You guys see what I'm saying here? Whereas my book has that fresh. When I read it, I feel the freshness and the spark of the story. Hence why when I read it, I'm more entertained reading my book. Lord of the Rings doesn't have that spark. It feels dry. I know a lot of you. In my personal opinion, it feels a bit dry. It doesn't have that water spark. The story feels dry. Hence why it's for me, it's a bit boring. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'll give you an image. It's like you have a tree, right? A tree grows. It's like you have a tree. A tree grows, obviously. A tree grows, obviously. And then you have the leaves on the tree, right? Obviously, it's a beautiful tree. The leaves look very beautiful, obviously. Obviously, you have one leaf that's beautiful, obviously, but but water, when it rains, obviously, that one leaf comes more to life. The other leaf is also beautiful, but when it rained on that one leaf, that leaf did not it's still a bit, it's dry. The water did not neutralize that leaf. You guys get the picture? That's the way I see my book in Lord of the Rings. Obviously. So even though the tree is very beautiful, that one leaf on the tree is very beautiful. Obviously, just like the symbolism of that is Lord of the Rings is an amazing story. The water did not neutralize that leaf. It's dry. The other leaf, the water did neutralize it, and it's not dry. So you have two beautiful leaves. One was neutralized from the water, and it's not dry. The other one is a beautiful leaf, obviously, but the water, there's no spark. The water did not give that one leaf spark. The leaf is beautiful, but it's dry. Hence why I see Lord of the Rings as a boring masterpiece. It's a masterpiece, just like the tree. That one leaf on the tree is very beautiful, obviously. That's the symbolism of Lord of the Rings being a masterpiece, obviously. But the water did not neutralize that leaf. There's no spark in it, hence why it's dry. Hence why Lord of the Rings I see is a boring masterpiece. Whereas the one leaf that's also beautiful, because Xanus is a masterpiece, obviously. When it rained on the tree, that one leaf was neutralized. It got nutrition and it's not dry. So I'm saying? Yeah, that's a good illustration. Yeah, that's where I see my book of Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings lacks the spark. It feels dry when I read it. For me personally, I know all you Lord of the Rings fans think Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece. I agree, it is a masterpiece, obviously, but there's no spark in the story. It's dry. It needs that water spark to make the story fresh. Like when I read my book, it feels fresh. This is me taking off my bias goggles. It feels fresh. I'm more entertaining reading the story. Lord of the Rings, it's a beautiful story, obviously, but it feels dry for me personally. It's dry. It feels like it's lacking that spark, the fresh spark. It lacks something, obviously. But because it's also a beautiful leaf, it's still a masterpiece. That's the illustration I'm giving you. So I see your illustration. That makes sense. Yeah, that's why I see both books. Now, I don't know what you guys feel when you read my book, and you read all you Lord of the Rings fans who read Lord of the Rings in my book. I don't know what you guys think, obviously. But if some of you guys like Lord of the Rings better, that's your opinion. I'm not going to judge you for it. But if some of you guys like my book, that's your opinion. I'm not going to judge you for it. Art hits everyone in different ways. So I'm sorry? Hence why I look at the masters when you read my book. Anyways, guys, it was very. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Stay tuned. I'll make another video tomorrow after my shit go fruity. This is Idamer. I'm signing off. Peace. Don't hate me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the show.